Back to the Charlie Cook Cricket Podcast. What a day of cricket we've just had. I mean, what a day of cricket we've got set up on day 5. I cannot wait for tomorrow already. I'm joined from Charlie from What's He On About podcast. We're going to break down day 4, everything that has happened, who we think's winning, who's going to win this game. All of your answers, all of your questions will be answered by the end of this 15 minutes, or however long we do. Charlie, who's going to win this game?
A brilliant question, probably for someone who has a little bit more knowledge than I do. However, I'm going to give you the best opinion I possibly can. So it's finally in the balance, Charlie. Absolutely finally in the balance. I think both sides could win. And the only thing bringing draw into contention is the weather. Now, Ben Stokes' team batting last will mean that draw is never on the table. We could be 100 for 9 tomorrow with 270 more to win. And he'll be back in Bashir to go and hit a 150 and win us the game. So for that reason, and purely based on the fact that England's batting is so strong at the minute, I think England are firm favourites. However, with some rain lingering around, who's to say that maybe we could be brought off by a little bit of umpiring? But I think, in my opinion, England are the team to beat, Charlie. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm probably. It's difficult. See, if Bumrah wasn't playing, I'd say England walk this 99 times out of 100. He just scares the living daylights out of me every time he gets the ball in his hand. Like, it is such a worry every time he gets the ball. I'm just thinking, I don't know if we can do it. I mean, India are favourites. CricViz have got them as favourites. The bookies have got them as favourites. I think you go down the street and show everyone a scorecard. Everyone else has got India as favourites. I think England can do it. I think this pitch has it in it just to stay flat. I don't think it's going to change much, but I do think that England have that ability in them. I'm just really scared of Bumrah. So I think that's my answer by sitting very comfortably on the fence there. We'll start with what happened. Shubman Gill goes early inside edge from Brian Castle, wicket that he seems to get quite often. That kind of extra bounce he gets that inside edge, goes back onto the stumps. And when India are 92 for 3, I'm thinking, okay, all out for 150 here, and we'll be chasing down 150. It'll be absolutely fine. But no, Rahul and Rishabh Pant go on and put on 2 fantastic centuries. Which one was the better, you reckon?
I think I'm going to go with Rahul. I think the way he kind of showed his fine temperaments and class it's kind of what we've not come to expect, but almost what we hope Rahul can play. Like, as a neutral fan, Rahul's always shown glimpses of this patience and class as a test match player. And I think the way he went about it today is the absolute epitome of that kind of purest form of test cricket, whereas Rishabh Pant is, a spectacle to everyone's eyes, becoming the second person ever, I think, as a keeper to make back-to-back hundreds in the same test. Absolutely astonishing from Rishabh Pant. But I think Rahul, the way he paced his innings, for me as a test cricket lover, was really the reason why he stands a little bit above Pant. But you can't take away from Pant's performance in the test match. It's almost kind of come from nowhere. Pant had a pretty mediocre IPL, and I kind of thought that maybe he'd be a pretty easy wicket. But he's got back-to-back hundreds. Can he keep this going for the whole series, Charlie, do you reckon?
I hope not. I mean, I really hope not. I think he could. I think he's that good. And I think a test is definitely his best format. So it's a little bit of a case of he's very odd and scores in weird areas and all the kind of cliches that you'll get with Rishabh Pant. I think that works really well for him in Test cricket because when he goes to T20, all of a sudden it's the norm. You're expecting players to hit sixes while they're falling over and weird shots and things like that. You don't expect that in Test cricket. It's something that you haven't really seen. You've seen it a little bit more in the last maybe 3 years. But he is a real anomaly when it comes to the longest format. So, yeah, I think he can. I mean, he loves it in England. What's this, his 4th century against England now? I think it is something ridiculous. I'm going to pull up his stats here. In England, he has got 4 centuries. Bearing in mind, he's only got 8.
In how many games?
In 10 games, he's got 4 centuries, 250s.
How good
Which
is
is
that guy? Why does he only bring it out in English conditions at the minute? I can't. I know how good of a player he is all over the world. However, he just ups his game, and it kind of
mm,
makes no sense why he does. I mean, Rahul as well always seems to play great cricket in England. I've got his stats here, and he averages higher here than he does anywhere else in the world. He averages higher in England than he does in India.
mm.
Absolutely astonishing stuff. You know, these modern Indian batsmen actually playing in ways that we never imagined. You know, always in the past, Indian batsmen struggled coming to these English conditions. But this is part of the problem, I think, of Bazball as we're moving away. I know it's been hot and dry this year. I know it's been a hot summer, but we've talked about it before, where Stokes' team love to be flat track bullies. You know, we'll beat anyone on our wicket. Whereas the problem is, it feels like we've drifted away. You know, you couldn't tell me Head couldn't have created a nice green nibbly surface for us. I'm sure they could have done that,
Mm.
but it just I don't like the fact that we are kind of moving away from our English conditions, and it's almost becoming easier to play here as an away side.
Yeah, see, it's difficult, isn't it? I don't know where to go with it because it does benefit our batting so much, and I think our batting is definitely our strongest suit. Um, I don't know. I think they were struggling to make this into a real kind of green seamer, and I think with the weather that we've had for the last nearly 3 months now, it's hardly rained since the start of the cricket
Mm,
season. So I think they were going to be struggling to get some grass on it before it happened, especially with how much cricket is played in the UK,
mm,
and how many times they've got to keep the pitches turned over. I mean, what Yorkshire have already played 8 county games, 7 blast games. There'll be some warm up. You've obviously got the women now as well, which will be playing on the main grounds. There's a lot of cricket for these groundsmen to keep churning out pitches. Why I don't want to give groundsmen too much stick because I think they are doing a really good job. Although we're going to Birmingham next in the next couple of weeks, which worries me because Somerset are currently playing out at 500 place 600 in the county championship. And if you thought this one's flat, you wait until we get to Birmingham. That one's going to be even flatter. That one's going to be dull. A few 600 scores in there. So I haven't got an issue with us playing on pitches like this. I think the issue comes is that we don't necessarily have the bowling attack to
mm-hmm.
go with it, at least in this game. Obviously, Jofra Archer coming back in, hopefully for the second test. He seems to have pulled up okay at Sussex in the first innings. Maybe Gus Atkinson comes back into the side. I mean, what have you thought of the bowling so far?
It's the main question mark over this England side at the minute. And again, I don't know whether to put that down to great batting conditions or a kind of lack of depth in this England bowling lineup. It's interesting. We can talk through each of the bowlers. I had a lot of questions about Josh Tongue on day one. However, the way he's fought back and taken those key wickets against the tail, he had a triple wicket maiden today, took 3 wickets and 4 balls. And if he's a guy who can go and clear out the tail on any wicket, if you do it on that wicket, you can do it on other wickets as well. And
Hmm.
I've had a lot of I've had to really bite my tongue here when talking about Josh Tongue, especially over the last 2 days. Seeing how well he's done against the tail. I think Bashir in general's done an okay job. I think he's on the first innings he held up his end relatively well. In that first period before the second new ball, he had an important part to play, holding up an end whilst our pacers couldn't really get much to happen with the old ball. And then it comes down to Carson Wokes. And I think Carson, to be honest, has bowled pretty well when I've seen him bowl. He's looked pretty dangerous, especially with the new rock opening up. Bryden Carson looked pretty good. And then it rests on Chris Wokes. But we look at all these guys and we think, yeah, they've done all right. But in reality, what we need is someone who can create a bit of magic, and we can't rely on Stokes to keep doing that because Stokes has arguably been one of our best bowlers of the Test match.
Yeah, I do agree. I thought Bashir was poor this afternoon. I thought there was a real point of the game where I thought England did really well in the first session to really hold India back and stop the scoring rate. And I thought that was exactly what they needed to do. While they only picked up the 1 wicket, and that was relatively early, I think there was like 58 runs scored or something like that in the first session. And it was something that they did in 2022 really well, of especially in that New Zealand series, of just bowling dry in that third innings. Just get it to a point where, okay, India, you're probably ahead of the game right now. You've got to take a risk to score the runs. I would have liked them to even go even further and bowl 2 for outside off stump with a 7-2 field and say, okay, go on, Rishabh Pant, try and play this one on the leg side, and try and make him do something stupid. Whereas I felt like we were so good in that first session of stopping the runs, and Rahul played really well and left the ball well, and there was a couple of chances that Pant threw up with a couple of bad shots that he played. And then in the second session, I just felt like we went hunting for wickets a little bit too more and let our foot off the gas a little bit and stopped squeezing them so much. The boundary riders came in, the field spread, and it's just a little bit too easy to score at that point. And that's where Rahul and especially Pant really started to push the rate. And if it wasn't for, I mean, India having about 5 number 11s at this point, this chase could have been 430, 440 rather than 370, which I thought was strange. I haven't seen that from Stokes. Just felt like he lost control of the game slightly.
Do you feel like he was changing too much? You said he was searching a lot for those wickets. Do you think he was, maybe trying too hard? Was he over aggressive? What actually did he get wrong?
I don't think it was necessarily. I think the issue that he had was that he. So we went to the bouncer theory. We bowled a lot of Bashir. I just would have liked to have just try and stop the runs. I thought that the way we won that, we would win the game, is by stop India scoring and make India, because they've got a time frame as well. They've scored 470 in the first innings. They are going to want to win this game. At some point, they will have to take risks to try and push that score up. And that's when the wickets were going to come. I felt like Stokes was trying to force the wickets to bring the game into kind of his control, whereas all he could have done is just let this game run out. Because realistically, a draw from the situation that England were in on day one is a really good result.
Yes, however, I argue that a draw is never a result for Ben Stokes. I think Ben Stokes would rather lose. I know it's common sense, isn't it? Yes, draw's a great result from India scoring 470 in the first innings, but it raises the question that Stokes doesn't care about that draw. And actually, I don't know if you like that or you don't. It's the way it is. And actually, I can see Stokes, not himself, but the team really going after that win on day 5. And I think after letting India get to 470 and having the bowlers we've got, I honestly can't see England being in actually a better position to win this Test match. Weirdly, maybe you could say we let a few chances go by today, but 470, 471 and 364 on a pretty good deck with arguably not our best bowlers we could possibly have. I think, we couldn't have really hoped for a better chance to win this game at this point, I don't think, to be honest.
No, I do agree. I felt like there was a better way to try and take wickets, and not go for any runs. Because realistically, what did they have? 5 overs at us at the end of play today? Worst comes to worst, they declare. The thing is, they're going to chase anything. So even if India are still batting tomorrow morning, and their lead right now, if you bowled dry, so you went for 70 runs in the second and 80 runs in the last, they've got a lead of 300 going into day 5. You can tidy them up in. They're going to then try and attack. You all of a sudden you're chasing 330, just with kind of 15 overs less. I think that's a better chase than the 370 we've got in 100 overs compared to 330 and 85.
Yeah, it's interesting, this debate of how do you set a total against this England team? Do you starve them of time, or do you try and get a score on the board that they'll never be able to get? I think both can work. However, I I think if I honestly think that their 10 wickets falling today fell at a good time for India to put them in just before the close of play. And although
Yeah.
it's going to make it right tomorrow, I do think that it's kind of forced their hand to play a way that they maybe might not have done, but could really work well for India. Because I think if you starve them of time, I think yes, they're going to take more risks in the less time they've got tomorrow. But also, I just think maybe this is Shubman Gill's. It's really up to Shubman Gill and his new form of captaincy to see what kind of way he takes it, and it's forced his hand this time. But it'll be interesting to see throughout the series what approach they go to setting England totals. Because it definitely can be a weakness, but it's also a strength for this England side.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, if there was, there's no other side in Test cricket that I'd want to be chasing down this total.
Yeah,
I think they're going to get close. I do, and I think one thing that you did see from that innings from India is once you get past kind of 40 overs, Jesus, that ball goes soft and that pitch is incredibly flat. I know there's that kind of one crack that Sky like to keep pointing at about 2 foot outside off that doesn't really do a lot for you, unless you're Shubman Gill and inside edging it on back onto your stumps. As long as you know that's there, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So I think as long as we can see through, Bumrah's going to have 5 overs in the morning. If we can see through that, even if we're one down after that, I'd probably back England to win it. It's just Bumrah getting the new ball in his hand tomorrow morning, fresh after a night's sleep, and thinking, okay, can he go nuts here? I do just want to go back to the centuries from India today because I don't think we quite spent enough time on him. How exciting is Rishabh Pant to watch bat?
he brings a different style to Test cricket that no one else has got. He's got the 360 of AB de Villiers, and he's got at times, the class of Joe Root, and he links them all together in this kind of exaggerated, completely unorthodox way, which makes you think, how on earth has he got that ball there? At least with AB de Villiers or some of the great 360 players, you always can kind of understand, oh, yeah, that's a good shot. He's managed to hit that over his head, or he's managed to get it into that gap. Yeah, he's played that really well. But Rishabh Pant finds gaps without really kind of trying to. He tries to find different gaps and hits the other. And he's just the most impossible person to set a field to and to bowl to, because he just gives you the biggest headache possible as a captain, because I don't think even Rishabh Pant knows where the ball's going. And it's just like his bright orange wicket-keeping gloves. He just is such a trailblazer of this new form of Test cricket, which is basically showing that anyone can pick up a cricket bat and just look $1 million and get 150. But he's just that good, and he just hits every single gap you want him to without him really trying to. It's astonishing how Rishabh Pant plays cricket.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, there's got to be something with him neurodivergently. I mean, there's got to be a kind of sprinkle of autism or something there. I mean,
Wow.
it's just, I mean, in a really good way, but he's a character, isn't he? The translations from Dinesh Karthik of what he's saying in Hindi to himself while he's just standing talking to himself at the non-striker's end is incredible, and I am really enjoying it. One last question: Shoaib Bashir, does if you were England selector, does he play the second test for you?
Yes. And here's my reason. As England selector, I'd be looking a lot at Ben Stokes. I think this is the boring way the selectors are selecting. And Ben Stokes clearly sees something in Bashir. He gives him blinding faith. But here's the thing I don't quite agree with, which is you are seeing Bashir as this long-term spinner to kind of grow and develop. Okay. However, Ben Stokes isn't going to be the Test captain for a huge amount longer. Let's say he's Test captain for another 1.5, 2 years down the line. Come the end of those 2 years, is the next captain going to pick up Bashir and go, yeah, this guy's the best spinner in England? I don't think he is. And it kind of defeats the point now of developing this young spinner. I know this is how Graham Swan wants spinners to be dealt with in this country, to be backed, to be developed on the Test pitch from a young age. But I'd be much more inclined, Charlie, to play a Jack Leach, a Liam Dawson, whilst people like Rian and Farhan Ahmed are developing in the background in county cricket. Bashir has not had that red ball development at the county level. So to chuck him in at the Test level and say, this is our young prodigy who's going to bowl well, and he hasn't shown that at the level below, it kind of makes no sense. But as a selector, I'd back Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes sees what he sees in him. You've got to keep pushing him forward. And to be honest, Charlie, he's their man for the Ashes. He is their man for the Ashes. He's not our man for the Ashes, but I promise you, if he goes all right in the second Test, he'll be playing on the first Test at the Optus Stadium. What do you think?
Rian Ahmed scored a third century of the county championship today.
Sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds really good.
I don't know what difference you get in the bowling between someone like a Rian Ahmed and Shoaib Bashir. And Rian Ahmed is still young. Rian Ahmed has still got lots to learn. He's wrist spin, so that's a little bit more exciting than finger spin. Liam Dawson, 79 not out currently in the county championship.
Blimey. I guess you could kind of look at Bashir and think, actually, have you grown as a cricketer? You know, let's have a look over the last 1.5 years. Yes, it's such a short career so far, but have you actually developed? You know, it raises that question of how much he got better. And if you look at the stats, yes, great stats, great games in 2025. Yes, he's getting better. He's maybe taking wickets at better strike rate, but it's so hard to measure that development, isn't it, in a young player? And I think it's makes it even harder considering he hasn't played a lot of red ball cricket at county level. So for Bashir, for me, he's yet to show significant growth, and he's also yet to show a great record at the level below. So for that reason, I can't take him tremendously seriously as a long-term spinner for England.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. But we've got a very interesting day of cricket with the bat for England. So hopefully we won't need to see Shoaib Bashir tomorrow. If we do, I think England could be in trouble, or we're set for another Headingley 2019, which would be nice to see. Charlie, last question. Who wins it tomorrow? Gun to your head.
England, unless there's rain. So England.
Right. I'm happy with that too. England will win tomorrow. You heard it here first. That's going to be it for today. If you do want to go check out Charlie, all of his links will be down in the description or the show notes. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, leave a review, leave a rating, all the usual stuff. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for a day 5 recap.